Hello, Googlers, and welcome to Google Sheets. Before we get started on today's assignment, I wanted to break down a couple of the things you'll see as you're working on Google Sheets. So just like docs and slides, you'll see that we have our ribbon up here of different options, as well as our toolbar. But also, as you can see, the toolbar is much different. It gives us different options than we've had before. You also have what is called the formula bar, which allows you to type directly in here and it'll show up in the cell that you have access to. Now, speaking of cells, what cells are in Google Sheets? They are the spot where a column, which is the straight up and down, and a row, which is the straight across, where they meet. So, for example, column E, which all columns are signified by a letter. If I click on this cell, that means I'm in E5. Make sense? All right, so to start the assignment, we're going to start in A1. But before we're able to actually do anything, we need to make sure that we title this spreadsheet. Now, I've noticed as we've been going through these different assignments that students are starting to not name their assignments. So we're starting to get a lot of untitled documents, untitled presentations. So hopefully I don't get any untitled spreadsheets. So this spreadsheet is going to be called Exploration Timeline. Now, these first few assignments that you're going to do are going to be very heavy on data entry and the super basics of Google Sheets. So let's get started. The most important part about data entry is making sure that you put the information in the correct cell. So we can't just keep typing things straight across. We have to actually select the cell we want things to go in. So as you can see, cell A1 says date, cell B1 will say Explorer. Okay, now we're going to start putting in some dates and some different explorers. All right, so I went ahead and put in our first bit of data in this table. So I put our first date, which is 1341, and then our first bit of information you can see is in cell B2. Ibn Battuta begins exploration of India and China. Now, as you can see, this information is in B1, but it also spills over into C2 and D2. What I can do to make this all fit in the correct cell is if you see I move my mouse up here, I can click and drag to make this cell or column any width I want. If I double click, it'll make it the exact size of the biggest piece of information in the column. So that's just how we resize. So go ahead and resize your columns to fit on both. And you can see this one came smaller, this one became bigger. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill out the rest of this table, and then you can do so after that. Now, before you complain about having to type so much, just remember that I had to type this too. Now, once you have, you can go ahead and pause now if you like and type in this information. All right, now that you have the information in, you can see that we probably need to widen our B column. So remember, we can just go up to this small line in between B and C, double click, and then it becomes as wide as the biggest thing in the column, which looks like that would be cell B8 is our longest bit of information. All right, now we are going to go ahead and start formatting. The first thing we're going to do is center our headings, which is date and explorer. So highlight both of those cells. As you can see, I just clicked in cell A1 and dragged across into B1. And we'll go ahead and center those. We're also going to do a fill color, which is that paint bucket. So fill color, and we will go ahead and go with just a common blue. And then let's change our font color to white. We can also bold and do a lot of the same things that we did in Google Docs. Now the next thing we're going to do is highlight all of the information. So we start in A1, drag down to select all the way down to B14. Now, what that's called in Google Sheets is a range. So if we start in A1, it's called the range from A1 to B14. Once we have that selected, let's go ahead and put borders around everything. Okay, so now it's starting to look a little more like a table. The last thing that I'd like for us to do is put this information in order by the dates that show up in this column A. So to do that, we must select the range of cells starting at A2 all the way to B14. Now we go to data, and we don't want to sort the sheet because that'll allow this information up in the row that's 1. We want to sort the range A to Z. So as you can see, it took all of the information and it put it in order by the date that it occurred. So you have just completed entering data into a Google Sheet and then sorting the data. You may now go ahead and turn in.